questions one by one because
Okay, we are
those
live,
are really serious questions.
Okay, we're going to go through the questions one by one, but we'll also have a bit of a side discussion as well. Today, I'm very lucky, I'm blessed because I'm with Li Fangfang, who is also known as Frieda Li. And Frieda is a journalist and an editor with the Beijing Review, which is actually China's most renowned English language weekly magazine or weekly outlet. It's also online. It's a state media outlet, of course, as most Chinese media are. And Frida has worked 15 years reporting on a broad spectrum of China's political landscape, closely following for about the last 10 years or so, the Xinjiang story, because that started to get special attention. So one of the other things about you in the introduction, I have to say, you actually come from Xinjiang. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that at, we'll come to your X account later on, but let's leave it at that and just say thank you very much for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you. You are a journalist in China, and many journalists are a little afraid to talk to people like us because maybe they'll get into a bit of trouble. Maybe they'll say the wrong thing. Well, I hope nothing like that can happen. But thank you very much for joining us and welcome to My Take on China.
Thank you, Jerry, for inviting me to your space. And actually, we know each other. We as like online friends for years because of Xinjiang, right? And I still remember that
I think
first
that's how
video.
it started. Yeah, you contacted me on Twitter, as it was then. That's how long ago it was, and that's how our kind of friendship has started. Let's come to Xinjiang in a little while. I really want to go to your background on Xinjiang and the work that you've done there. But I want to first start with the two sessions, because the two sessions finished just over a week ago. And I wanted to ask you, a journalist who attends there, what you feel about this, because there are many misperceptions, I think, many criticisms in Western media. One of them, which was quite widely spoken this year by a couple, particularly one Australian, who I actually invited to come on my show and talk about this, but she declined, was that the Western media journalists are not getting respected by the Chinese deputies and delegates there. Why do you think they have that impression?
I don't know, because I think every journalist has their own different interpretation of the same thing, same event, right? This is pretty individual because if she mean like she want to get respect, so I want to ask like what kind of respect is she or was she expecting during this national event? If it means expecting deputies to instantly respond to a journalist anytime, anywhere, that's a much bigger challenge for the journalist, not necessarily the delegate, And for foreign journalists, you probably have to overcome language barrier, perception gaps. It can be really hard to even identify the right face among thousands of people for a foreign correspondent.
Mm.
So
if a foreign correspondent doesn't speak Chinese, do you think that would be a barrier outside of the Great Hall of the People?
Definitely. Chinese, it is really vague. Even you have learned Chinese for like 5 years, you probably can only get the meaning, the literal meaning, but there's much more information behind the literal meaning because you have to take into consideration the context, the culture, And also I want to say like NPC deputies and CPPC members have their own packet agendas, like formal meetings, informal discussions, some open to media, but some closed door. And maybe she doesn't know that delegates come to Beijing from all over China, leaving heavy workloads back home to discuss national affairs and pass legislation. These are all serious business. And plus, this gathering is a rare chance for the delegates to exchange ideas across regions and professions. And all of that means they have very limited time for media. And that's why you see so many interviews happening in halls, corridors, even while walking. So it's
Yeah,
really demanding job.
I've been involved in that myself, where I was in the Guangdong Provincial People's Congress, walking along, talking to a delegate because they were on their way from one meeting to another meeting. I can't
Yeah,
talk now, but you can walk with me. It can happen.
right. And also,
Yeah.
I want to say, like, for a foreign correspondent, especially someone new to China, if you manage to get even 1 or 2 solid answers, you deserve an A+. Congratulations,
You
My
say that's
colleagues
true
are
for
really
foreign
the old mothers,
correspondents. Is that
especially
also
for first
true for
time.
you? If
For
you're, say, carrying a microphone, if you've got a microphone and it says Beijing Review on it, and you go to talk to someone, would they be more willing to talk to you than someone, say, with a microphone that says ABC or CNN or BBC?
I don't
What do you
think
think?
we
Is
can,
there a difference?
you know, a Beijing Review, we're like English names, we're English brands. I don't think the delegates will tell the difference between Beijing Review or ABC. I don't think so. Unless they are media professionals,
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're all the same.
Okay. Someone has just brought up my next question for you. Taiwan is not a country, still not a country. Um, this is a regular commentator on my channel. It says the decision-making body, the National People's Congress, is described in the Constitution as being the highest legal organ in the country. So it's obviously quite important. But the Western media, and including this journalist who declines to come onto my channel, uh, they call it a rubber stamp parliament. What do you, as a journalist who has covered the two sessions several times, I don't know how long you've been covering it, but I know it's several. You can tell us how many if you want. But what do you think about that? Is this a rubber stamp parliament that the CPC says, this is what we want you to approve, and everybody just says, okay, done, yes? Or is it something different?
Mm-hmm. This question is a really big one. And I actually asked DeepSeek to explain it to someone unfamiliar with the system, unfamiliar with China, actually. And,
Right.
DeepSeek's answer was really spot on. And he said the two sessions are the most concentrated, most open, and most ceremonial part of China's whole process, people's democracy. And these meetings connect months of grassroots research, public consultation, and cross-party discussions beforehand with lawmaking, policy implementation, and oversight afterward. So the annual meeting, the two sessions are only the part of the whole chain. If a journalist or if the people overseas think the two sessions is the only window to understand the Chinese politics or to observe Chinese democracy, that's a bit lazy. Or you need more knowledge. We can think of an NPC deputy proposal or suggestion as a public sentiment data packet. Their proposal or suggestion are based on the result of a whole year's research, sorting, and analysis. The NPC brings together delegations from all regions, while the CPPCC, Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, gathers experts and entrepreneurs from fields like tech, education, healthcare, art, and business associations. So together, NPC and CPPCC, they cover public opinions and industry trends from every angle, always say diversified angles. And I want to share an example. I still remember covering the two sessions in 2024. I actually covered the two sessions several times, but the latest one is in 2024, when I closely followed two discussions of one local delegation. And they were both province-wide meetings, not those small group discussions, which means those higher level officials are there. And only a few delegates spoke at that kind of meeting. And each of them focused on their own regions or their own areas. And their remarks could be interrupted at any time by the delegation head, who might ask questions or even issue on-the-spot work instructions. It's like their own meetings. So people are really think, are really debate, are really, issue something on the spot.
Yeah, so it's a real work in progress.
Shocked. And and also the other meeting. Well, some observers from national ministries will be present, recording their discussion, the main point. And the local delegation would seize the opportunity, like startups pitching to angel investors, to seek greater support from the central government. This means that those kind of discussions really, significantly shape work plans for the rest of the year.
And that's across the provinces and, of course, regions as well, because they're not all provinces.
Yeah. So
wow.
I would say I'm.
Go on.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, because you covered the 2 sessions this year, you covered it several years in the past. Do you have, not as a journalist, but as a Chinese person, do you have a big takeaway from this year?
Oh, this year. This year I was following from outside the main venues, and I mainly support my colleagues. And what stood out most was how much talk was there about AI. Some more than 50% of my colleagues' reports were linked to AI in some way.
Right.
And also, we also spoke with several foreign journalists, and those journalists are really, they really care China, and they really want to cover China as wholesome as they can. Because one of the a Slovenian journalist mentioned that the misinformation about China in the West and in her own country, but she tried to cover China as comprehensively as possible because she thinks that just makes sense. And also another one, a Guatemalan journalist said the 2 sessions pulls together the people's requests and focuses on points that will make China better. So he sees that as democracy. And also I want to share another takeaway from those on-site reporters. My younger colleagues, many of them are post-95s, really young.
Your younger colleagues, okay.
Much younger
I'm looking at you from a different lens here.
I'm much older, here. And, some of them are just studying abroad. So they know Western education, what the Western education is. And they're pretty proud of studying overseas. And then their takeaway, as a first-time 2 sessions reporter. So for many of them, their baseline understanding of China's political system was critical, shaped by Western education. And beyond the initial excitement and nerves, they mostly expressed eagerness to cover the 2 sessions next year, which means they really gained a lot. And they found the experience of unboxing on the spot, or catching the live fish. Because you can't plan ahead, you plan much ahead. You just have to 跑2会, it's really exhaustive job for very, very physically challenging for journalists to report 2 sessions. And they always
which kind of proves the point that this is not a rubber stamp parliament. If it was rubber stamp, you'd know what was coming and you'd have your expectations of what's going to happen today. You can't if it's if it's spontaneous and things are happening and being changed all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And so some of them just say you didn't expect they have such freedom to report 2 sessions, because we do plan ahead, but those plans seems like we were planned in vain, because so many surprises, so many unexpected gains. And one of the youngest among them said, after actually meeting national deputies and CPPC members, she felt a powerful, a positive energy. She visited every venue she could get into and saw down-to-earth elites and grassroots representatives, heard serious discussions and even debates, sensed their reverence and dedication to the roles. And she just came to recognize the legitimacy and representativeness of how they are chosen. She told us it gave her a completely new understanding of the country's democracy.
And she's Chinese.
Yeah, she's Chinese, but she studied in the US and London for, I think, for 7 years.
Okay.
Since,
So she
yeah.
presumably she's done a bachelor's degree in the USA and then a master's degree in the UK or something like that. That's amazing, because you used the word there that I've used myself as well. Maybe she used the word and you're quoting her, reverence. The people who do this now, I've met most of the people that I meet are in the Guangdong Provincial Congress, People's Congress, and they have a reverence for the role. It's not a job, because every one of them has their own job. This is a volunteer. They work as volunteers and they give their time freely. Of course, their employer gives time as well to help them to better the country. But that word reverence for the role and reverence for the institution that they're involved in seems to be a great word to describe what I've experienced talking to these people as well. So I like that.
Yeah, because if you don't have your own expertise, you don't have your
Oh, Frida, we've just lost you.
So is it my
Oh,
internet or
yeah,
yours?
no, you're back now. We just lost you for a second. I lost you for a second. It might have been this end. You
Okay.
were saying we don't have our own expertise until, I guess, we get into that kind of environment.
Yeah, and you also need those connections in your field. Then you can collect fact-based opinions. They're pretty down to the earth.
Yeah. So when, as a journalist in China, when you're interviewing people, do you go out into the streets, as it were, or to normal people and interview them and ask them their views on the 2 sessions? And if you do, is it overall positive, negative, or even neutral? Because I mean, people who say, "Well, I don't really care what goes on as long as my life's getting better," that seems to me to be a very common thing. But are people in China, when you talk to them as a Chinese journalist, you'd probably get a better or different impression than when I would to talk to them as a foreigner, and they want to say the right things to a foreigner, but they probably would be more open, I think, with someone who is Chinese asking them. What do you find when you talk to ordinary Chinese people?
About 2 sessions?
Yeah. Or about whole process people's democracy, about the way their life is improving. But yeah, 2 sessions is how it all works. But yeah, just generally the life of democratic China. Because many people in the West don't believe there's democracy in China.
To be honest, the democracy, this word for the ordinary Chinese people, I don't think they care the term, the
No.
concept. I think they care more about their life. If their life is really smooth, you don't have that many problems. I think they're pretty very peaceful life.
Yeah.
Why do I have to care about this term? But if I got some problems, I need to ask somebody to take the responsibility, take the charge, or to help, at that time, they will care who can help, right?
Right.
So
So
Chinese people are really practical. We don't care about
yeah,
the concept. We really care about solutions.
yes. They're very pragmatic. There's also Beiban 5. Okay, there's nothing I can do to change it, so let's just move on. And I liken Chinese democracy, the way it works, to what I would call in the West local government or local council issues. And where we vote for people that we know in our local council. These are the guys who organize the cleanliness of the streets, the tidiness. They do have a lot to do with the schools and the crossings and the lights. And it's the stuff that affects our daily life. And then we can vote them in or out as being good. And I think that's the thing with China, except that the stuff of daily life gets escalated up the system into the whole national psyche. And it's like the Western idea of local government has been taken and moved into a national arena. That's one of the views that I take away.
I think my internet is not that good, so I can't hear so smooth. Just interrupted again and again.
No, let's just move on from democracy, because I wanted to. We've only got an hour or so tonight, so I wanted to move on to talking about journalism. Being a journalist for several years in China, do you need to set goals for yourself as a journalist, and what kind of goals do you set?
Jerry, I just can't hear you.
Okay,
clearly.
Can you hear me now?
So, do you think we need to reconnect?
No, if we reconnect, we'll end. We have to end the stream.
Or I can just get out of the room and re-enter.
Yeah, you can close down and re-enter. Let's try that. Let's try that.
So I'll leave the studio.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We're actually working now.
Okay. I think it's better.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's better.
Let's try.
No need to leave.
It's better. Okay.
Let's move on to talk about.
Could you repeat that question again?
Yes, sure. We're talking about journalism generally in China. And as a journalist, what are the biggest kind of goals that you want to set for yourself?
Goals, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think no matter it's Chinese journalists or US journalists or Australian journalists, as a journalist, I think we have those shared values, shared goals, like pursue truth, conduct in-depth investigations, tell compelling stories, and hope our work helps society move in a better direction. I think that's very universal. And also, we adhere to strict professional ethics, verify sources, and face the same deadline pressures. And personally, because I come from Xinjiang, so I really want marginalized voices to be heard and audiences to get as close to the truth as possible. Because now, this time era of information, there's so much misinformation. So I'm like standing in between my readers and my interviewees, or the people, the marginalized voices. When I just find either of them are, like, for example, if I realize those people living in poverty, their voices need to be heard by my audience, then I really want to bring those voices to my audience. On the other side, if I found my audiences were misled, I'm just, I think they need to know the truth, So I just want to push myself to bring those fact-based information to them, and hope they will not get misled by those clickbait headlines or those scary stories. So I'm like in
Right.
between, I just want to make my job, to take the responsibility to play the role as a bridge. So is it?
Yeah, it's okay. You're still here. There's a little
Okay.
breaking up. You're still here. And Jason is Jason Smith in Beijing is in the audience right now and telling me that he can see both of us clearly. So it's we might be breaking up on our line, but we're okay. One of the Western, particularly Western media, but also Western people believe this, that no criticism of the government is ever allowed here in China. What do you say to people who say this, and can you give any examples?
You mean whether the criticism of the government is allowed?
Yeah.
Here. Um, so about whether people in China can criticize the government, I think it's less about allowed or not allowed in the black and white sense. And I think it's more about how it actually works in practice.
Right.
So people really need to know how Chinese society operate or work. Social media in China is pretty active these days, as you know.
Yeah.
We see a lot of public opinions online. In fact, a number of social issues or scandals first came to light through online discussions or tips. And in response, and I really find that the improvement in recent years, because I don't think China just want to ban the internet or just want to control the opinions, but the other way around. In response, local governments have set up official feedback channels over these years, like the 12345 hotline. Have you heard of that?
Oh
Which
yeah, I've used it.
started as a local mayor hotline and is now very common across China. And the idea is to give people a formal way or a channel to voice their complaints or suggestions. And from what we can see, these channels do collect public input, and there are a process in place to handle them. But how well it works in different places really depends on the place and the situation. I don't say like all the provinces. China is really huge. I don't say there are no problem. All the officials are really capable. There are some, but the mechanism exists there, and what people need to improve is their capability of governance. So there are people's opinions are heard, and there are channels to collect their opinions and then to deal with them and to keep improving.
So, as a journalist, if someone came to you with a problem, would you, in the West, quite often what would happen is people would take this problem and say, I'm going to write a story about this, and it becomes a journalistic expose, if you like. Does that sort of thing ever happen in China where journalists actually expose problems inside of the government?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do think about this really thoroughly, and I think, but you need to tell me in the West, if because I think much more than me how the Western investigative journalism works. So I just want to share mine, and I want to know how you think about because I think my understanding of Western investigative journalism is really limited. So I just want to say from my research, regarding the question of whether investigative journalism in China, it is most useful to look at how it operates within our specific social and political context, rather than
Right.
through a single Western lens. Right? This is a premise. And
Yeah. I'm the first to
People
agree
are
with you there. I agree with you 100% because I'm always accusing people of looking at things through a Western lens. So, yeah, what we're really looking for is your perspective on this and how it works for China.
so I think this question kind of suggests that the Western model often assumes that the interest of the government and the people are mutually opposed. That's why uh, they require an adversarial watchdog. They need a journalist to play that role. In contrast, the Chinese model is built on the premise that the interests of the state and the citizenry are fundamentally aligned. This is a baseline understanding, and based on that, I want to say, like in this framework, the journalist does not need to. But I mean, Chinese journalist does not need to confront the system to serve the people. Rather, we serve the people by ensuring the system functions as intended, and that the mass line, the flow of information between people and the leadership remains open. We're more like a bridge.
Right.
And this difference in philosophy in Western or in Chinese philosophy leads to a distinct professional practice, yet one with clear technical overlaps. If you compare the categories of the Pulitzer Prize and the China Journalism Award, you will find significant shared ground, like public service, investigative reporting, and commentary are all formally recognized. This reflects a global consensus on the craft of journalism, even if the ultimate mission differs. Well, Chinese journalists frequently carry out rigorous investigations into lateral issues such as illegal mining, food safety, or financial fraud. There are a lot of stories, and these reports act as a physician for society, identifying a localized sickness so the national body can be healed and remain stable. And also, when I think so far, this leads me to a counter question for you or for my Western fellows. Like, does constructive reporting have a place in your tradition? And in the West, does the media play a role in keeping the public timely informed about the latest policies to help their lives keep pace with the times? And does it allow the public's voice to be heard promptly so decision makers can learn and improve policies before conflicts escalate into protests?
You have just given me a conundrum, a puzzle, a problem that I'm glad you threw that back at me. I have a view on Western media, particularly American. I read a lot of, watch a lot of American media, and it is very politically biased. So if you are a Democrat, you will watch CNN. If you're a Republican, you will watch Fox. And what they do, each of these medias, and the UK is a little bit like this. We used to have the Sun newspaper and the Mirror newspaper for the I have to say this, the less well-educated people. These are easy newspapers to read, and one was right-leaning, one was left-leaning. And the same thing happens with BBC and ITV to a lesser extent, and Channel 4 to a greater extent inside of the UK. So what I think Western media tends to do, it tends to feed the bias of a political ideology, much more so than China does. What you said about China, does the Chinese media tell you what's going on? Yes, it does. Does it sensationalize anything? No, it doesn't. And the Western media is much more adversarial. So if you're working for OAN or Fox News or um, I can't. There's another one which is a Max something. These stations are vehemently anti-democrat, and so they're constantly attacking the system that feeds them. They're fed the sensational headlines, and they it's like a shark frenzy, feeding frenzy. They feed on each other. whereas China just tends to report the facts. And I've made this comment many times. Chinese media will sometimes miss out important information because they don't want to tell the public because it can cause disharmony or something like that. But I've yet to actually find Chinese media lie to me, but I find Western media lying to me. In fact, I've made a profession. I'm now making a living out of correcting Western media lies on YouTube. It's not a very good living, I can promise you, but I earn a few $100s every month from Western media lies, where I just get online and correct them. So yeah, I think we have a very different perspective from the West to China on how media should be informing us and what role media plays in the information spectrum.
Yeah, but I think that I think Western media, they believe that truth exists in conflict. But from my perspective, truth and stories unfold in the small details of daily life long before tensions intensify. If journalists can identify and report issues before they reach a breaking point, we can prevent social harm. Or is
Yeah,
there do you believe that there is a belief in the West that truth only emerges conflict? Do you think is this their belief? Or the only report conflict? Why not just do those kind of reporting before, not
it's
when they
not very
broke up?
entertaining. It's not very entertaining to provide facts. And if we're honest, in a Western media is capitalist. Even the BBC needs to earn money, and in order to earn money, it needs to have ratings. So they need ratings, and therefore they need to have some kind of entertainment. Fox News has actually been declared by a court in America to be entertainment, not news. It's not a news station; it's entertainment. So there is that aspect of it. And I think probably you've made a very good point, where you say that Western media is sensationalizing and adversarial. Is it actually providing news, or is it providing propaganda, which is what they accuse China of?
I think um, when the social media is booming, we both face this challenge to get into those sensationalized content.
Yep.
No matter in the West or in China, we also face these challenges. But as you know, state media, we are pretty we're kept guided by the state. Like as a media, you have to you don't need you shouldn't do this kind of thing. You should stay balanced, trying to be objective, to offer very professional news. So, well, probably we make the content for benefit because people need to live, right? And I can't say we don't have the economic pressure. We do have, but we have those rules, right, to play the role in the right way, not to joining those trends or to earn money from those kind of it's actually violate the journalism ethics.
Right. You don't want to violate those ethics. You mentioned the Pulitzer Prize and the China Journalism Award. What you very modestly did not mention is that these things are pretty much equals with each other. The Pulitzer Prize is the #1 prize in the Western world, and the China Journalism Award is the #1 prize in China. And you are actually a recipient of one of those, which is going to bring us to our next topic. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your homeland, Xinjiang, and basically ask you a little bit about how did you I mean, how did you receive? What did you do to receive the China Journalism Award? The #1 award in Chinese journalism is, it should be on the shelf behind you. We should be able to see it, but it's not there.
I think first of all, usually Chinese reporters write stories from like a third person angles, and they report other people's story. And my piece is a personal narrative. I just shared my own family story. So this is one point I think is a little bit innovative. And at that time, it was written in 2021 or 2022. So at that time, Xinjiang just kept hitting headlines, and people just don't trust media reporting. So I think as a people from there, so my story could be how to say persuasive, or like people probably will buy it. And also because my 3 generations of my family, how the different generation contribute to the region's development. There is family tradition, but in the context of the history, the historical development of the region as the development of the whole country. So I think this is a pretty unique perspective at that time. And also I talk about my family story. My grandma, she was born in Jiangsu province in the east area, and in the 1940s or 50s, the whole China was really poor actually, and people living in that area, they were really struggling to live. I can't say it's decent life, just to be live, believe, Yeah. So she wants to seek more opportunities to live a better life, and she know that she can go to Xinjiang. And she at that time, my grandpa, she didn't tell my grandpa she will go to Xinjiang, and there's a love story in that. So I use that at the very beginning. And my grandma's father, he think the Xinjiang is so remote, so far away, they had no idea of that region. So he hoped like my grandpa can go there with my grandma, and so the two just got married in Jiangsu before they moved to Xinjiang. And when they really arrived in Xinjiang, they just found there was nothing there. They have to build a house themselves. They have to build everything from scratch. It was like a bare land, actually. And
where did they go? Which part of Xinjiang? Which part of Xinjiang did they go to?
It's near Urumqi in Changji.
Okay. Which one?
Have you been there?
I've been to Urumqi. I've been to many places around there, but I didn't hear the name of the place.
It's really close, and about like 20 kilometers.
Oh, okay. I might have cycled through there.
It's an industrial city, so not that famous. It's not a city of tourism.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they went to there, and because my grandpa was an engineer and in the water system. So they went there and they built everything from scratch, and they tried to get along with local people and learn from each other, and yeah, this is their story. And my parents' story, they also in the same system, and they keep working from the work like my grandparents has built. And that to me, I was born in Xinjiang until 17 years old, and I came to Beijing for college, and then I stayed here. You know, at that time, I don't think Xinjiang is there are any difference between Xinjiang and other provinces. I have no sense. I think we're all the same because we use the same internet. At that time, we use Weibo, same,
Mhm.
right? And cities looks alike, but just Xinjiang is really remote, kind of. Excuse me, kind of behind other developed cities in the east, and that's why a lot of Xinjiang youngest want um, to explore more opportunities in Beijing, Shanghai, and these
Mm.
developed regions. Then I came to Beijing for college, and I just stayed after graduation. I worked for Beijing Review just after graduating till now. I never expected that one day my hometown could be the topic, could be my focus of reporting. So I just
It's
shared
it's funny
all these
because
stories in one piece.
I went the other way and ended up in Xinjiang much later in my life. You moved away from it, and I moved towards it. I'm not living there, of course, but I'm actually a regular visitor. I was there 3 times last year, and I think probably when we view it for the first time, it doesn't feel like China to us foreigners. You walk in out of your hotel room and you're in Turkey or the Middle East type of thing. You know you are in China. You haven't left the country, but it does has a very, very different feel about it. So for you coming to Beijing, that must have been a real eye opener for you, I think.
You mean in Beijing what?
Yeah, when you left Xinjiang and came to live in Beijing, it must have really opened your eyes. And wow, this is the country I live in. It's a very different place.
Mm, yeah, but you know, the first, I still remember the first. Can I say it's a cultural shock? Like, 'cause in
Yeah,
Xinjiang, we were really used to go to halal restaurants, and we didn't um, usually we didn't go to those Han restaurants. So and when I come to Beijing, I just feel the opposite. You know, if I want to have some Xinjiang food, I have to search for those halal restaurant. There are a lot, but
yeah, there
just
are.
just
Yeah.
different. You know, this is
Wow.
this yeah, this is the first impression I got. And for others, I think probably because people looks more similar as my face.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does give you a feeling of familiarity, but home is home, you know. And I
Yeah, yeah.
go
You
back,
s-
I still feel very familiar. And
do you,
and
do
then
you
I
s-
want to make one point is
go on?
because if I was born there, I was growing up there. I think I'm really used to um, diversity. You know, different appearance and
Mhm.
different way to dress up and different languages and Xinjiang you will see like it's very colorful. So and also I mean diversified not only in terms of people or culture but also nature.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I
it's a much
really
more
like
arid zone.
proud of being born there and growing there. And you whenever you go you will see the place is really huge, very and not like in eastern areas. They're really organized and houses are not that big. I mean in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really grateful to my hometown to nurture this kind of um, diversified attitude to keep open minded. You know.
Mm, mm. Yeah, there's a good comment just come on, and this is something that we've been talking about. I've been talking about recently. China seems to do diversity much better than the West. I lived in Australia for 17, 18 years and found that it was a diverse country, but it's not really very merged diversity. There's a pocket full of Vietnamese people there, a pocket full of Greek people there, Italian people there. They don't move in and assimilate as they do in China, where you might find someone who is a Miao, someone who's a Tujia, someone is a Uyghur or a Kyrgyz or a Tajik, and they're all living amongst each other without noticing it. Do you speak any other language than Mandarin in China? I know you speak English really well, but in China, any other language than Mandarin?
Naomi, my years in Xinjiang, I used all of those time to study to go to college in Beijing. So it's really I really regret that I when I was young I didn't have that kind of
Right.
sense to cherish those environment, very diversified environment until
Do you have
recently.
friends who do you have any friends who can speak Han Chinese who speak Uyghur, or obviously
Oh yeah,
the
and my
Uyghurs
father
can
can
mostly
speak
speak.
Kazakh.
Oh, right. Your father can speak Kazakh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
he has a lot of Kazakh friends, so they hang out a lot of gatherings, so he can speak some.
Every Kazakh I've ever met loves drinking too.
And also, my high school classmates, Wendy, I mean, one of them is a doctor, and she works in Xinjiang right now. So I still remember that before she really can go to work, she has to learn the Uyghur. The hospital has such training classes for language, and
Hmm.
so there are kind of how to say job basic job requirements for language if you work in this kind of a service industry.
China has just passed a new law, and this has got a lot of criticism in the West. But the law is basically a very good law, which says they will cherish the culture, the languages, the traditions of the local ethnic minorities. And so, I've actually read the law. I took the time and read the law, and it's
Wow.
quite good. It's not like, well, I read it because I was criticizing the BBC for not reading it, so I felt I had no choice. Um, Coming back to Xinjiang, you and I are both big fans of the region for very different reasons. But I mean, the main reason is it's a wonderful place. There is an awful lot of misinformation about Xinjiang. If you could send just one message, I mean, we've got 40, 45 people watching here today, but this will get seen by a few thousand people. If you could send them one message about Xinjiang, what would that message be?
It's time to update your impression on this region, but I
Right?
suggest come and see yourself because there are too much information. People are get tired of those kind of information. No matter what we say, it's very I don't know. I just suggest you come and see yourself. That's the only way you can trust
Yeah.
the information you get yourself in person.
Yeah, I've often said that even if you can't visit in reality, visit digitally. There are enough people online showing Xinjiang. And instead of saying, well, why would I believe them? Ask yourself, why would I believe those other sources, which I know lie to me all the time? They've lied about everything. And so when they're telling you the truth about Xinjiang and other people are telling you something different, it must be worth at least asking the questions. Um, you have plans. You've recently come back. You just came back from Kucha. Is that right?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
January.
Kucha is in the far west, and I was actually in Aksu, which is also Kucha is part of Aksu Prefecture, and I was in Alaur, and I
Oh,
went from Alaur down to Hotian in across the Taklamakan. We took our bikes across the Taklamakan, but with a film crew, believe it or not. It was freezing cold. What was it like in Kucha last week?
it's colder than I thought. I thought it's in the south and it's near the Taklamakan Desert. It could be warmer in winter, but it's freezing cold than Ili. You know, Ili in the north. And
Yeah.
I start from Kucha and then I fly to Ili. And I prepare a lot of puffy coats to wear in Ili, but I do
Mhm.
wear that in Kucha and not wear it in Ili. So it just
Ili is on the other side of the
prepared.
Tian Shan Mountains, so maybe it's the Tian Shan Mountains you can blame for this. What are your future plans? I'm going to be in Xinjiang in maybe late. No, it will probably be June. I'm leaving Inner Mongolia in middle of May and then heading west or south and west into Xinjiang. So we will probably hit Xinjiang early June. What are your plans? When are you next going to be there?
Yeah, this year I just want to, even though I said if you want to really know Xinjiang, go and see yourself. But I, as a journalist, as a Xinjiang local, I still want to do something for you guys. So this year I'm trying to do a project to bring all you guys, especially people who have been there, who have their
Right.
basic knowledge about region, to bring you guys there. Like let's go together and see what chemistry can we have and bring those
Oh,
stories to our readers, to our audience. This is what I want to
so
do
you
this
mean
year.
like
So I really want to meet you there.
Beijing Review organizing a trip? Oh, well, I know there are a couple of people, probably Jason, if he's still in the audience, would be very happy to join us. Jason works for CGTN Radio in Beijing. You might know Jason. But he was in the
Jason.
audience a little while. Issa Sinclair is there, and Issa is. I had lunch with Issa today. She's actually staying in Zhongshan. So people, she really wants to visit Xinjiang, and I was telling her that I was meeting with you this evening. So
Great,
I
great.
think, yeah. Anyone now? What are the impediments to going to Xinjiang? How difficult? So if I've got a 30-day visa, I can enter the country visa free. I land in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing. What are the impediments of me going to Xinjiang? How difficult is it?
Oh, I think Jerry, you can answer.
Well, you're the journalist. I want you to answer this one. You're the Chinese person. How difficult is it for someone who lands with a 30-day visa in Beijing to get to Xinjiang?
30-day, it's a month, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's many
Yeah,
many countries. I think there's 55 countries have 30-day visa free now. A 30-day visa
just,
free. So arriving without a visa, they've just landed in Xinjiang. They've got 30 days. They've got 1 month. How hard is it?
I don't think it's hard. Just buy a ticket to fly to Xinjiang. And
Okay.
just do, you can check some guide, you know, some suggestions on Xiaohongshu. I think there are a lot of travelers sharing their experience there, especially those TikTok refugees. You can ask
Hmm.
them everywhere. And Xinjiang is like it's an autonomous region, and the cities there are similar to cities in Guangdong, but Xinjiang had their own uniqueness. So just think about it as other Chinese cities. But the one thing is, remember, Xinjiang is too big. It's almost impossible to travel across the whole region at once. So pick pick one prefecture or city you're really interested and go there and to experience. I really suggest those uh, travelers who have never been there. So don't be too greedy. Just um, uh, how to say, to plan ahead and
Mm.
and search for suggestions on Xiaohongshu on Red Note, and yeah, nothing too just similar as other cities. Just be prepared.
Right. So how can people find you if they want to ask you a question? I know that you're on X. Where else
Oh
is
yeah,
there anywhere else they can find you?
X, or uh, I can leave my email here.
Yes.
Oh, and so I can type in the comment area.
Yeah, you can
Join the
type into
chat.
if you can type into the comments. If not, you can type it into a private comment to me, and I can post it up.
Oh yeah.
Private. There's a private chat there, and we can post it up. So I've traveled to Xinjiang many times. I've caught the train, the old green train. The first time I caught that took 54 or 57 hours from Guangdong. The second time I went, I flew in, and the third time I went, I rode a bicycle in. And I've got this. So just a moment. And I'm just about to put Frieda's email. Wow. If anybody wants to contact Frida by email to ask personal questions, how to get in, out, what they can do, you need no special visa, no special permission, no special ticket. You need nothing. All you need is a ticket on a plane or a train, or you can even rent a car and drive in there yourself. However, how long do you think it
Yeah.
would take to drive from Beijing to Urumqi?
It's gonna be a long journey.
Yeah,
It depends on how many times you want to stop, because
right.
there are like about 3 kilometers, and also Beijing to Urumqi. In between, there are different provinces. You probably will stop in any of those regions for several days. But if you keep driving, I think 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, I think it's over 2,000 kilometers. So if you're prepared to drive 1,100 kilometers a day, then you can do it in 2 days. But wow, that would be a
I would
long,
suggest
long.
you just fly to Urumqi and rent a car.
Yes, if you're going to fly to Urumqi, rent a car at the airport, it would be no problem. If you want to go by train, the high-speed train, I think, takes about 20 hours from Beijing.
Train, you mean?
The high-speed train, how long does that take? Do you know?
There's no high-speed train right now, but just normal. The T train
Oh, I
is
thought
like
there's a
30
high-speed
hours.
train into Urumqi.
No. There's no
Oh,
such
okay.
train from Beijing to Urumqi. It's in construction.
Okay. Sorry. I thought there was. I have caught the green train in, and it took me 50 something hours from
Oh,
Guangdong.
yeah. I also had that train when I was in college. Yes, it took me
Yeah,
60 hours, the lowest
six,
one.
60 hours to get to Beijing. Wow. And it took me only 54 or 57, I can't remember. But we stopped for 2 nights in Xi'an, but I didn't count that. We got the train to Xi'an, which was like 27 hours, and then we had a couple of nights there, and then we got the train from there to Urumqi. And so that
This
was
is
a
the right
really,
way to travel.
I had my father with me. He was 78
Ah,
years old at the time, and that was a great trip. So yeah, literally, you can get on a train, you can get in a car, you can get on a
yeah,
motorbike. The third time
yeah.
I went to Xinjiang was by bicycle. I actually cycled in through Gansu, through Ningxia, Gansu, and I got there after it took me 57 days to get there that time. Definitely 57 days. I wrote a book called 57 Days Across China.
Wow. And
Yeah,
I think that's a really trendy way to travel these days. If you have enough time, you just whenever you go, you just stop for several days to travel that place, and then you just move on. Yeah, this is really
yeah.
popular way to travel these days. Not for us, just for people who have
They
time and money. Not
That's
money,
true.
just
If you,
time.
you need, it doesn't cost you very much, but it does
Yeah.
take a long time. It costs more than the train, that's for sure. But it does take a long, long time to get there. We traveled about between 80 and 120 kilometers a day. I think our average was 101 kilometers. Most days was 120 or between 120 and 80. So yeah, it's a pretty good fun trip.
I think you know
So
China much more than me. I'm just staying in the office every day, unless there are some interviews. You
Well,
you really
there's
know
the
China.
difference between us because I spent 40 years of my life working in an office too, and I don't have to anymore. Maybe your time will come.
That's
But
my. I hope I can have such life when I retire.
You can if you want to.
Yeah.
Do you want to leave your, what is your X account?
I'll send it to you.
Yep, please do. Let me just bring, I can't see it now. Where's your, this is your email address, and
Yeah.
and anybody who wants to follow, I'm moving out of the app. Anybody who wants to follow Frida on X can go here. I went looking for you on X yesterday because I can't see my messages. All my messages for some reason on X have gone. So I can't see any messages at all. It's really, really weird. And so I thought, because I normally, I mean, we're on WeChat together now. We have been for a while anyway. But when I went looking for you on X, I couldn't find you. I was looking Frieda Lee. So Frieda Lee 3 is the answer.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Frieda Li, there's some other people registered that.
Yeah, well, I found there were several Jerry Grays too. I share a Gmail address with an artist in Canada. The difference is he's got a dot and I've got an underscore. So then I added the 2002 to my email address just to make me different from someone else. Because there's an artist in Canada, there's a wrestler, one of these guys who fights in the ring in America, who has the same name as me. So
Yeah.
I'm
Or maybe
world
you can
famous.
search Frieda Li and Xinjiang. Probably you can
Yeah,
answer
that's the
as well.
answer. Frida Lee, comma Xinjiang. You'll find Frida's account. So,
Probably you will get the result.
well,
I'm not
unless
sure.
unless
It's
you're like
around.
me and you're shadow banned, then maybe you won't. But that's another thing. Many people don't see me on. You have to actually type my name in accurately to get me on X. You can't just look for
Yeah.
Jerry Gray. You just have to type it. So I think it's time to bring this to an end because I did promise you we'd be finished in about an hour. So I'd like to thank everybody else for being here. Is there any final parting words that you'd like to say before we say goodnight to everyone?
I'm so happy to be here today. It's really joyful discussion and all the comments because this is the first time I use StreamYard to do this live stream thing. So I don't know how to reply the comments. Otherwise, maybe next time I will try to interact with the audience instantly. It's really interesting. So
You could.
especially thanks to Jerry, and it's
You're
lovely to
welcome.
talk with you. At the very beginning, I'm a little bit nervous, but as time goes on, I became really relaxed. So thank you,
Well,
Jerry. Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you. I'm so happy
that's
tonight.
really nice. Thank you very much, Frieda Lee, for being with us today. And thank you for your insights into journalism, into the two sessions, and also, of course, into your life